Racing through the street, Detective Tickrock is in pursuit of someone, and the promise of his pension keeps him going as swears to never run in his life again after his retirement. The distorted vision wears off as he receives a prank call with a man singing a song on the other side, revealing it was all but a dream. He heads out for the day, showcasing his distinctly detached approach to catching criminals. Later, as he relishes his quick meal of ramyeon for the day, the chief of police at Jumo Police Station, Seo Gwang-zoo, appears for a televised interview and introduces the new crime prevention system to ensure the safety of the city's citizens in places that may otherwise not have any stable means of surveillance. Tickrock, however, seems to express no affability to the chief's words and switches off the TV mid-broadcast. His room is marked with the presence of paraphernalia relating to the treatment of mental health, panic disorders and dementia, and medicine for the same, which he takes. At the police station, when handed over several case files for his opinion on the matter, Tickrock knows just how to tackle each situation with a rushed poise. He doesn't get a headache from looking over these cases as much as he does upon getting paired up with a novice homicide detective, Kyung-chan. Resuming his older case, he's accompanied by the newcomer and Detective Lee Sung-ae to head out to track the drug dealer Ma Sang-ju, who's been convicted 5 times previously. On being sent inside the arcade alone, Kyung-chan is cornered by Sang-gu's men and Detective Lee has to intervene. Once again, on the run, Tickrock has to chase Sang-gu and question him about Mr. Keen's, his supplier, whereabouts. Embroiled in the action, an amusing chase ensues, but upon getting caught, Sang-gu confesses that he has nothing to do with Mr. Keen's business. A meeting for announcing the new section chief is held, and the supposed brave citizen who helped Tickrock catch Sang-ju earlier is welcomed as the new chief investigation officer. Cook Jin-han, who was demoted to the Jumo police station for standing up to his seniors, is back at it with his crosswords against Tickrock's old age, but finds a worthy and witty contender in him. Team leader Hyun-sok finally meets up with Tickrock, but before he heads inside the tavern, he's prank called again, only this time the caller leaves a life-threatening message for him. Giving it some thought, the detective enters the restaurant, where Hyun-sok is already settled in. He starts questioning him about Mr. Keen while reminiscing a past wherein the younger team leader became an accomplice to Mr. Keen's actions. Although both Tickrock and Hyun-sok are hinted at being close to each other almost a lifetime ago, an awkward silence prevails between them now, with the former sticking to questions related to the case. A flashback reveals the drug dealer casually threatening Hyun-sok back in the day. Hyun-sok is clearly holding back something and Tickrock catches on. The two start to take it slow, and Hyun-sok agrees to let him in on the information with the promise to meet again the next day. On coming back to his quarters, Tickrock is taken aback by his next-door neighbor, who seems to keep things quiet to the extent that it stops feeling normal. Intrigued by this, he looks into his application and is shocked to read a familiar name, Yang Kite, a man responsible for an arson attack. Pulling him out of his room, Tickrock is stunned to find him there despite his sentence still remaining. Kitty reveals himself to be a model convict who once again takes up the stance that he was framed for the arson and that he moved in next to the detective for a reason. Shadow Detective Episode 1 ending. Coming back to his room after confronting Kitty, Tickrock gives his file another look and then decides to sleep. Some visions bar him from a peaceful night, and the tone is kept up as he soon receives a call from the same number. This time, Tickrock firmly establishes that he would track the number down and take the man in. In return, the man fires back with the revelation that Hyun-sok is dying. Claiming himself to be a friend, he asks the detective to take down a few things. The address so revealed is one of the shared spots between the two when things had been sweeter for them. Reminded of Hyun-sok's urge to revive their old bond, Tickrock takes the trip to find out the truth. At the location, he finds Hyun-sok lying on the ground in an unlikely condition, with his head bleeding. As Tickrock rushes to hold him up, Hyun-sok's last words are that of an apology to him. The next day, Tickrock finds himself back in his room and is woken up by Sung-ae's calls. Present at Jumsan Mountain, she asks the old detective if he'd met Hyun-sok earlier, which triggers his memory of the night, recalling that he was tattooed by someone. With Hyun-sok dead, Tickrock receives a message from the number again, calling him out as a murderer. Beginning with a probable flashback of the day before, episode 2 shows Hyun-sok compelling Tae-rock into a scuffle to let out his pent-up anguish. He asks the older detective if he had any regrets in his life, to which the latter points at him saying that he feels remorse for having let him become what he has and that he didn't do anything to stop him. The investigation for Hyun-sok's murder kicks off by drawing Tae-rock as the prime suspect once his registration card is found at the site. With the new developments dragging down Tae-rock's name, the suspicious calls continue to wreck his days. The caller lays down another threat saying that these murders will keep following him if he doesn't act as per what is demanded of him. The mystery man embroils him in a one-sided dirty game, stating that if he wins, Tae-rock will be arrested for a murder he isn't responsible for, and if Tae-rock wins, he can arrest him. The one basic clue let on by the man is that Tae-rock will be able to find him if he looks into his past. Through the discussion, Tae-rock is also revisited by the similar faint visions of a woman, possibly his daughter, which hints at another possible traumatic incident that hasn't been announced till now. He's overcome by dizziness and crashes his car as the police cars catch up to him. Once brought in by the police, the interrogation is led by Jin-han, who starts taunting Tae-rock in an attempt to secure a confession from him. However, the threat of being framed withholds him from speaking the truth. In the meanwhile, he tries to gather as many details of the crime as possible to commence his branch of investigation alone. Beckoning Chief Wang-soo inside, the two speak alone in private. For the time being, Tae-rock is allowed to leave, and relieved from his duties, despite Jin-han's claims that he should be kept in custody. Detectives Sang-ae and Kyung-chan keep a check on his whereabouts and follow him to Ji-woo's, his daughter, wedding. Being the veteran he is, he picks up on them and invites them inside. Later, he's greeted by a bouquet sent by the anonymous caller at the wedding. As soon as he gets back in his car, he turns his phone on and Jin-han starts tracking him within a fraction of a second. Visuals of the taxi dropping him at his place the night of the incident are traced by the police. Keeping him on his toes, the no-caller ID sign haunts him, but this time Tae-rock cuts the conversation by asking him to meet him. As a response, he reminds the detective of a 10-year-old case related to a fratricide. The next command demands he find the actual weapon and the person behind it, proving the framed individual's innocence. As per the caller, this is where it all started, even though it seems that he didn't share any relations with the case himself. Sang-ae lays bare how Tae-rock's family was endlessly threatened, forcing them to stay on the move. The situation got to such extreme ends that one of the criminals caught by the detective even went on to kidnap his daughter. Back at the station, Detective Han divulges the dark reality connecting the chief and Hyun-sok to corrupt ties. His deduction is that Chief Wang-soo had kicked Tae-rock to take the fall for his misdemeanors so that he can profit off the plunder alone with Hyun-sok now dead. He also mentions that Hyun-sok used 2 phones, one of them probably a burner. Meanwhile, Tae-rock starts scratching the surface of the 2012 Jamosin Mountain fratricide case with help from Sang-ae and Kyung-chan, who find that the convict's sentence was suspended on being diagnosed with terminal cancer. On the other hand, Detective Han could only trace one phone under Hyun-sok's name and is told to find the other missing one. Shadow Detective Episode 2 ending. Tae-rock asks the chief to assign him a team to find one of the victims of the same convict from the fratricide case, reminding him how he'd fabricated the evidence to bring the man in. Relating the commonalities shared between the 10-year-old case and Hyun-sok's murder, Tae-rock arrives with the team at the same site. Jin-han, accompanied by Detective Han, reaches there too and asks Tae-rock about Hyun-sok's supposed burner phone. The latter doesn't speak up about it and passes it up as a usual possession many detectives have had in the past. Moving on to carry out his own investigation and come up with a hypothesis as to why the friend could have called Hyun-sok at this place. He senses someone following him and starts racing after the jaded figure. Back with the team, Chief B calls off the search for the victim. Tae-rock can't keep up with the agile individual and is caught off guard and knocked over the cliff. Somehow, clinging on to the edge, he keeps himself from falling, and just like that the ending keeps us hanging for another week as well.